Yeah. Oh, my lens is good.
Yeah. Mine gets that way sometimes too.
Sorry. So we're in northern New Mexico, in the city of Espanola. We're having the New Mexico governor come and speak tonight here in the city. You're on camera. No, don't wait, don't move, don't move. It's, it's a little dead right now. Supposed to be picking up later.
Hi, sir. Can you please do me a favor and sign in?
We got ANCAP in the building. I haven't opened up the doors yet. It starts at 5:30. We're here patiently waiting. I thought it was gonna be more fuller than this by now.
Just curious if you're in this group. Yeah, I'm in a group.
No.
Mostly post stuff from my own area. I'm hoping everyone, I'm trying to get more people to post in there.
Yeah, no. I can look it up later.
It's on Facebook.
Oh.
Just consensus in Mexico. $1,000.
Yeah, this is our group.
You were supposed to speak up. Oh, nice.
Yeah, thank you. I'll shoot you a follow.
What was your name?
My name's Steven.
Steven. I'm
Yes,
Dylan.
sir. Nice to meet you, brother.
I used to be security.
Wow.
Try.
Crazy. Good, bro. Yeah, everybody's doing good. Came to see what this meeting was about, bro. What time did this thing? What time did it open up? Wow.
That was never.
Oh, they're going in.
Because last time we just did to have the Grisham, it didn't work out. So we're just popcorn again.
This is for a Spanish interpretation.
I don't care. Sorry. I'll sit right here, at the edge, bro, and just.
See what he passed your station.
We're here in the city of Espanola, New Mexico. We're here. The governor of New Mexico is doing a town hall meetings throughout the state regarding safety plans for the homeless, for law enforcement, stuff like that. So, thank you guys for joining.
How you doing, officer? Hungry.
I think I've seen you on the various TV commercials for the state.
I'm sorry?
I think I've seen you on the various TV commercials whenever State Police does advertising a long time ago.
Yeah, I was.
I thought I recognized you. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, on the DWI commercial, I was on one of them.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay,
Yeah.
right on.
That was a long time ago. I even forgot about that.
Yeah, I recognize faces and patterns. I forget names, but faces.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah. Oh, I did wrong. Sorry. That makes a lot of sense.
Regarding the homeless population throughout the state, law enforcement, public safety, different things like that is what they're going to be talking about. Hello, folks. Not much. YouTube, bro. Kid, Twitch, bro. It's a new generation. Record everything. Right.
Guaranteed in the Constitution.
Yo. Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you for your service. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't have these rights to exercise. I have no idea. Watch, I'll be right back.
Oh yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us.
hopefully tonight's town hall will be peaceful. Last night down in Albuquerque, kind of shit show.
I hope it's peaceful.
Yeah, because last night what they're doing in Albuquerque, there was like 6 or 7 idiots that kept popping up talking about Israel and stuff.
Talking about a different country,
Bingo.
not even part of our country.
While it is their free speech to say it, there's certain
Yeah.
decorum.
Yeah. Like I don't do decorum. I don't like decorum.
Oh, I know. I see you. I see you throw it out the window.
Yeah, fuck decorum.
Exactly, especially when you're F you, that's a class.
I don't like decorum. Decorums are for losers. You hear that? You hear it, chat? Decorum's for losers, chat. They don't even hold their own decorum at meetings.
That's true. That's true.
They don't listen to Robert's rules of order.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't think this city will have any outbursts like that.
Yeah, there's a very large Muslim population down in Albuquerque, so that's why they were doing that. I don't know if there's a Muslim population here.
Yeah, I don't think they have any of that here.
Gotcha.
There's too much Hispanic going.
And as I was coming in, Google redirected me to go around, and it directed me. I came across it down in Fairview, and I saw the encampment.
You saw the encampment where
Yeah.
it was? Okay.
Yeah, I saw it. I was like, that's sad.
You know. Miss Piggy, like there's Miss Piggy right there.
Hey, Jake, how you doing? She hasn't started. Welcome. Great to see you, man.
It probably won't start till like 6.
Right. The one down in Albuquerque didn't start till about 6:30.
Wow.
And let me show something big. You can check the time on your phone if you scroll down, like if you just scroll down like that, you can
for real?
back up.
Oh, and it doesn't say
Nope.
anything? Oh.
It has no bearing on your stream.
Okay, I didn't know that. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
You learn something new every day. Yeah, he just warned me and said if you get rowdy, it's like I gotta talk to him, so if any simple gets time to get rowdy. No, I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna record.
I guess it's a circus. Governor Grisham lives in. She was in Albuquerque last night. Albuquerque to here is a 90-minute drive. I don't know if you think about this today or yesterday. I don't know.
What's up, guys? Appreciate you guys. We got Charles Ancap right here. We got Ancap right here. Go subscribe to him if you haven't already. He came up to come give me a ski night here. These cops, everybody's here. Got the word of what I do in the city of Espanola, that I hold them accountable. I call them out on their bullshit. So the security here and the cops already came and gave me warning if I speak out of turn, they're gonna escort me out the building. So I don't even think there's gonna be public comment or anything. I don't know how this is gonna go. I just got invited to it, and we'll see how this goes. It's a community event, but appreciate you guys being here. Yeah, for like 10 people.
I think y'all went to anywhere.
I don't like you standing behind me, sir. My safety, bro. My safety.
They sell teas as well as coffee. So yes, the website sells both.
There's Yazzie right there, guys. And then there's Zach right there. Don't run, Zach. There goes little Zach right there. Little Zach right there.
They're actual teas. Yeah, there's another brand of coffee. But they're actual materials. This factory here is huge.
Let's see how the auto is. I've never been in this room in years, bro, so I don't know how the auto is.
I've never been here at all.
Justin.
Good to see you. Oh, wow, dude. Wow. Yes, Rob. Yes. And let me know. And let me know how the shoot is going. Yeah. Love the name. Love the name. Are you?
You guys want to sit here? Feel free.
How you doing? Good to see you.
Go one down. I don't get you on camera. Oh. Right here is good. Right here is good.
Sorry.
Yourself? Yeah, somebody's sitting there. They just went to go use the restroom.
Who are those three up there sitting? I mean, I know two of them are these other guys.
Like, most black. Same exact shit.
Yes, yes.
this spot.
Thanks.
I guess he's standing right here. Yeah.
She's badass. Espanol firefighter. He's also a firefighter. He's badass too. I support these people more than the cops.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, it's the fire rescue people that are actually saving lives, whereas the cops taking the lives.
Should we go down there with Bugs in it or stay up here?
I heard by her hand.
Hey, how are you?
On a family matter. On a family. Yeah. Just whenever. Oh, you at Geo or?
Yeah,
I just wanted to talk to you.
Just go by, dude. Let me know.
Okay.
I'll be there next week. I'll be back. I'm gonna be in England.
But your other ones, how did you do with it? How did you do with that? Not hard. How long? Halfway there.
There they say 5:30. Like outside at 5.
One thing I would recommend is, since civics is not taught in schools anymore, find online just a basic civics course so you can learn your rights.
There's a lot of corrupt people in here. There's a lot of ex-corrupt people.
once. Every one of these idiots will stand up and repeat themselves. And that's one of
I thought there would be more people in here than what it is now.
Yeah, so did I.
I thought it was gonna be packed.
I hope you're okay with it. That's good.
There's too many bacon in here. Too much chorizos. I see. It's too bright here.
It was raining this afternoon. It was raining pretty bad. But Albuquerque and Escola are dry. Santa Fe is great. I didn't see
It's not that packed. There's a lot of empty chairs still.
One of the gentlemen who was, the gentleman with the glasses and very tall, he was in last time. He was very upset by the little man who was
It's empty. Thank you guys for joining. Yeah, he can go all the way down.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, folks on TV. Good evening, Espanola and Northern New Mexico College. We're honored to host New Mexico residents for a very safety town hall tonight. Thank you to our friends in Northern and to President Valderas for this venue and the hard work of the staff that is putting in hours to make this possible. A round of applause for the staff, please. My name is Benjamin Baker, and I work for our governor in matters involving public safety. I am a lifelong Mexican, and I'm a public safety professional for basically my entire life. And like you, I'm living and raising a family here in New Mexico. I'm grateful to see how many motivated folks have come to join us tonight, because the sheer number of people that have come to our town halls, including this one in New Mexico, demonstrates that this community clearly prioritizes public safety, and I'm grateful for that. We were in Las Cruces Thursday night, and as many of you may have seen, we were in Albuquerque last night. Similar outpouring of community members offering their insights, experiences, and perspectives on public safety within their communities. We're eager to engage in the same respectful, constructive discourse, moving us closer to our shared goals of a safer New Mexico where we can live, work, and raise our families in. Before we launch into the production, I want to introduce our host, President, Northern New Mexico College, Hector Valderas. He's going to say a few words to welcome us, and then he's going to introduce our governor. President Valderas.
Thank you. Let's give Ben and his team a round of applause. I want to do two things. Number one is on behalf of our college, our faculty, our staff, and our students, and the families that trust us to empower and educate students. I want to thank you because we all understand that we will never have prosperous communities until we truly have safe communities. And so on behalf of our college, we're honored to host such a critical and important conversation. We have dignitaries, members of law enforcement, but most importantly, we are honored to allow the community to have a conversation with our governor and our community thought leaders. And so it's an honor as a leader of this educational institution, which is so vital to the future success of this region. We're honored to play your host. And secondly, I'd like to also introduce someone who's not only a respected leader, former Secretary of Health, a congresswoman, a county commissioner, someone who understands Northern New Mexico, but it's a real honor to also have the governor of New Mexico not only lead a conversation, but to listen to all the wonderful families that are here tonight. So on behalf of, as the president of the Northern New Mexico College, if we could give the governor of New Mexico a round of applause. She's an icon.
Thank you, Mr. President and Mr. Attorney General. I might just, so I don't have my back to the distinguished panel, but I wanted to, I'm the same size, seated or standing, but definitely want to stand out of respect for the men, women, and families who are here who have a lot of other things to do. But this conversation is really important to me personally, and to the entire state. So I want to do a little background. Like every New Mexican, I'm no stranger to the fact that there isn't a New Mexico community who doesn't have some risk. Whether that is drugs and overdoses, whether that is too many kids that drop out of school, or whether we've got issues in sustaining businesses, or we've got road rage and related vehicular homicides. This is a state for far too long that has just recognized that these risks exist, but the strategies that we deliver to our communities don't ever seem to be enough. And I think that that will resonate, and we'll hear from you about where you want to go, what your personal experiences are, and what we ought to do differently. Two, when I campaigned in 2018, then I said, public safety is the issue that needs significant efforts to address it in every single community. And every single year since I've been governor, I've gotten really good, frankly, support from the legislature. We have invested a ton of money in policing and public safety. You probably won't believe this, but it's well more than $1.5 billion. And where you see it in places like Espanola is that it's available for firefighters, for retention and recruitment, for police officers, for retention and recruitment. It's easy to access their grants to the departments because we need more police officers, we need more first responders. We built a new fire station. We helped do improvements to the police station or public safety center. And we're very interested in more regional, collective work between city and county and related jurisdictions. Because if we don't do that, there's no way to adequately catch up or leverage. And so we've been really aggressive about that. The other issue about crime that both the policymakers, the legislature, local government, and me included, we really want to make sure that we're doing that upstream stuff, which the president of the university spoke about. Are we getting kids into college? Yes, we have the second highest enrollment in the nation. We have the highest first-time college students in the nation. So we are really making a difference. And interestingly enough, many of our college students, even with those rankings, are changing careers and going back to school as 30, 40, 50, and in my brother's case, a 60-year-old. And so it's doing exactly what it should do, creating stability and economic opportunity for families. We're going to be the only state in America that has universal free childcare. Right now it's 400% of poverty. It's unheard of anywhere in the country. We just had an early childhood education summit. The same thing, we're moving faster and further than any place in the country for free, high-quality 3- and 4-year-old early childhood. And we did a moonshot into our educational system. It's not quite as far along as I would like it in K through 12, but we finally figured out what part of the problem is: reading and literacy. And frankly, before President Valdez was here. No college, no university in the state of New Mexico was teaching educators how to teach reading. So we're all born with the ability to do language, to speak it, but no one's born with the ability to learn to read. There's a very specific way in which humans at all ages have to be taught. Well, none of our educators ever got that training. So the state retrained all of our K through 5 educators. We're moving through that pipeline, and now including this university, and they're all doing it. No university can be accredited, or community college, unless they're using, it's called the science of reading. Right, so we're doing all of that. We've invested $1 billion plus more in behavioral health, $1.5 billion more in hospitals. We're building long-term care facilities. We're building critical behavioral health facilities. We now have increased access to behavioral health in 1 year by well more than 73%, with 104% increase in behavioral health. All right, is any of that enough? It's not. But is it a huge leap forward? It is. So why is it that we still have these increasing tensions in our community, with incredible risk for our families? And after a lot of research, I will tell you why. And I've been asking the legislature, not just now, but for more than 1.5 years, to deal with this intersection. And here it is. There is an intersection of significant public safety risk between individuals who are living on our streets and their drug addiction or serious mental health issues that create violent, serious crime. What I am not saying is that people who are mentally ill or have a behavioral health issue are dangerous, are criminals, and should be treated through an incarceration or an arrest process. And in fact, even if I said that, and I would never, it's illegal, all right? So it has nothing to do with that. But what we've learned is since 2017, and I should let you know this data is not easy to get, because they're not really reporting to us, courts and the criminal justice system. Since 2017, there have been 16,000 encounters with a judge. Now wait, here's what that means. Cases, encounters, that means 16,000 victims in the state of New Mexico since 2017, whose cases never got fully adjudicated. It means they were not before the judge, because you know what happened? Case got arrested, go to the judge deems that you are not competent to stand trial. Why not? Because you have a mental health issue and or, it's usually a combination, that you have a drug addiction issue. So what happens to those defendants? They are released into your communities. And let me tell you what that looks like. 5,000 plus of those 16,000 cases are dangerous felonies. What does that mean? Because this was shocking to me. Rape, attempted murder, drug dealing, human trafficking, human smuggling, serious robberies, repeat large property damage, assaults. It goes on. And again, in this area, it constitutes about 350 people who are released right here. In that number, know this, it's not a one-time thing. So somebody who is dangerous, right, it represents statewide, and I don't think the data is as good as I need it to be, but for the data that I have, compelling enough, 3,291 distinct individuals have gone before judges in your community and statewide 30 and 40 times a year, with zero intersections for treatment, intervention, any of it, zero accountability. That is wreaking havoc in our state. A couple more things and I'm going to end. One, the only way to get out of that revolving door is to change our laws. You should know that most states, many states have changed these laws, And that New Mexico hasn't addressed commitment, treatment, for 50 years. Can't get it passed. 50 years, not new. And we wonder why it's not working. States like California, so, Democratic states, blue states, California, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, all have these changes. Red states, Florida, Texas, and more, have all made the requisite changes to make sure that instead of just dismissing that individual who committed again, these are not misdemeanors, these are serious, dangerous crimes, they get committed to treatment in a secure environment, committed to treatment until they can stand trial. And if they're found guilty, they will go into a correction system. All right, that's the intersection that I am desperate to get in front of. And in addition, we should mandate that courts are reporting to us what's going on. So should every police jurisdiction, so that we can make the changes that we need to make when we need to make them. We should do, and frankly, your local leaders, and I don't know how it's going in terms of the enforcement, but we copied the pedestrian safety bill right out of Espanola, where if it's too much traffic and it's a narrow space, you can't panhandle. Can't. It's constitutional. It was very smart by the folks on this panel. We want it statewide, and we want the enforcement tools to do it statewide. This may shock some of you, shock me, but our panhandling is very organized. Gone are the days, and we have some very needy who deserve our compassion and respect. People who are unhoused that need housing. And I am sure for a meal need your financial support in whatever way you can. What is happening in New Mexico is not that. It is organized by the 3,291 individuals who are drug dealing everywhere all the time and encouraging people, requiring them to steal and to engage in very dangerous criminal activity. And make no mistakes, they are showing up on your pedestrian areas. And that's happening all over the state. Also make no mistake that when you have this environment, it's permissive. So other states are saying you should go to New Mexico. Nothing will happen. You won't get arrested, and if you do, you're out in 12 hours. It's fine. So they're coming. And we cannot be the place where all of that occurs. Last part. We have the lowest sentencing laws for violent crime in the country. So if you commit a murder, you can be out in 5 years, sometimes less. And there's a debate in the legislature. There's no evidence anymore. Don't know that I believe that exactly, but I'm going to take it for right now. It suggests that longer sentences deter you from crime. But for the victim of that crime and their family, they know that the longer you're in prison being accountable, the less likely you're to come right back out and murder someone else, which, by the way, just happened in Portales. So I think if you're a felon in possession of a firearm, you stay longer. I think if you are drug trafficking and engaging in fentanyl trafficking, you stay longer. And I'm interested in more of those laws. The legislature has seen these multiple times, not all of them together in that package. There's a disagreement between us about what to do and when to do it. There's no fight. Fighting with local elected leaders doesn't benefit anyone here in the slightest. So we got to work together. But we do need a call to action. And I can't think of a more important time to get in front of this issue. And I want to tell a story that everyone in this community already knows. And the reason I want to tell it is because we should be a lot further along today, and we're not. And it should really make us productively angry, where we're willing to do a call to action and to talk to our neighbors, but nothing that would create more problems with safety and respect. But a woman that everyone knows, Val Martinez and her family, I didn't know Val Mervin. I didn't know who they were. I was being introduced to so many incredible people in Rio Arriba County when I was lucky enough to run. That's the best part about being a candidate. The other stuff is really hard, but when you get to meet people, who bring you chili, support, want to talk to you, are kind to you, it's the best thing that will ever happen to you. I'm so lucky. And I met Cameron. And I met him in a way that I actually met him and talked to him first before I met his parents. And he wanted to be in a commercial. How lucky am I? And you know, the thing that he was focused on was apprenticeships and trades and more money in colleges and schools and no wrong door. And I will tell you, it's that young man and this family, right here in Espanola, that were the backbone and the background for getting free college and trades and education for every single New Mexican. That happened. I absolutely give her a round of applause. And right here. 3 shooters, a drug deal that had nothing to do with this family. Wrong place, wrong time. Do you know, since then, since that horrific tragedy, that will always be heavy for this entire family and their community, everyone here. That's happening every day, everywhere to kids. Kids have guns in schools, mid-school and high school. We have people in cars who are randomly still shooting. They are felons with firearms, and they should not be out of prison in just a couple of years. Absolutely not. All right. So I've gone on too long, but I just wanted to tell you that. And then to make sure that you know that all that violent crime trickles down into broken windows, broken doors, carjacking, car thefts, copper taken out of lighting. All of that is connected to this organized, really dangerous stuff. And if we're going to get after it, we're going to have to pass these laws. And I promise I wouldn't go on too long. Last thing, we haven't increased our police forces. I mean, this country is in a big debate about too much police, not enough police, community policing. What does it mean? We have to make sure that our policing is fair and sound and constitutional. All of us have a responsibility to make sure that happens. But to ignore that they have not seen increases. State's doing it now. I'm going to take some credit. The state did this all by itself. I mean, the legislature gave me the money, but that didn't come out of the legislature. That's our idea. 100, and we asked for 150 million, we got 136, I want more. You have the same number of police officers in the state as you did 30 years ago. We have fewer people in jail, in most of our jails and detention centers, than we did a decade ago. More people, more risk, more issues. How is that possible? Well, it's possible because there's a revolving door, there isn't justice, and people are right out. So I want to hear you. You need to tell me whether any of this makes sense, because if it doesn't, then I got to do more. I need you to tell me what other ideas we need at the table. And I need your ideas as well about how do we get these bills, if you believe in them, how do I get them passed in the legislature and when? How can we work together? Because it's going to take every single one of us at this table and in this audience to stand up for the quality of life and the safety of our neighbors and friends, to never let any of these risks be in vain, to learn from the lessons of the past, and to just, quite frankly, say enough is enough. Not in my community. Not now, not ever. So thank you very much for having me and coming up here.
Thank you, Governor. A couple of critical parts of our communication team I want to introduce before we get too far down the road. Off to my right are Mariah Garcia and Gabby Seckler, who will be providing ASL translation tonight so that all may receive our message. Please give a round of applause for them. Up in the back, we have simultaneous Spanish language translation that is being conducted by our friend Eduardo Valdez. Mr. Valdez in the back, thank you. Master and Ketchup. Mr. Vasquez had emphasized to me when we got here that he is going to be providing real-time Spanish translation for folks so that everybody can understand. One of the things that will help him is if we keep the duration of a thought to a relatively short. I'm not talking to the governor at all. Stop. Everybody stop looking at me. If we can keep the duration and add some pauses in there, and it's not so much about whether or not he can translate the words, it's about going back in the recall. So any appreciation or any cooperation into that would be much appreciated. I want to thank both our interpretive groups for their service here and willingness to come do this. I'm going to pass the microphone down this panel so that you can be introduced to the incredible panel members that you have in front of you here, so that you know who are the folks you're talking to, and then we're going to introduce a couple folks in our audience, starting here on my left.
Thanks very much. Good evening, Patrick Allen, Secretary of the Department of Health.
Well, we all can also meet you. Again, good evening, a lot of respect. Governor Michael Chavez, I'm
Don Ramon Vigil, Mayor, City of Española.
Isel Garcia, Chief of Police, Espanola Police Department.
Excellent. Thank you, distinguished panel, and thank you for your commitment to this community. And thank you, first responders that are heading out to work. I was just getting ready to talk about our Espanola Fire Department. Thank you. In attendance tonight, we have New Mexico Representative Joseph Sanchez. Thank you for being here, Representative. We appreciate you.
There he is, he's back in the back.
In addition to the mayor and the police chief, representing the city of Espanola, we have Mayor Pro Tem Peggy Sue Martinez, councilors. Go ahead. Councilors Luis Benavides, Pedro Valdez, and Samuel Ledoux. Additionally, Councilor Justin Salazar Torres and City Manager Eric Miller. Fire Chief Johnny Martinez is also here in this crew. All represented within our group here tonight are New Mexico public safety professionals of all disciplines, and I want to thank the men and women who are brave enough to go out and serve their communities. We have several agencies represented here: Rio Arriba County, City of Espanola, New Mexico State Police, tribal police officers and leaders. Thank you, public servants, for your willingness to be here. On the right, we have some incredible cabinet secretaries who lead in areas involving the Secretary of the Department of Public Safety, Jason Bowie, his police chief, Troy Luis, of New Mexico State Police. Cabinet and Deputy Cabinet Secretaries of Corrections are also seated behind them. Melanie Martinez, Deputy, and Alicia Secretary. Important to get correct is welcome to the men and women serving our United States military, and especially our veterans. Thank you for serving us. I have some tribal leaders that I'm going to acknowledge here that we're really grateful to have and are very important to this community, particularly representing OK-Oinke. We have Governor Mary Phillips, Lieutenant Governor Howie Aquino, and Councilman Ron Lovato. Thank you, Representative. Additionally, we have Governor Craig Quancello from Pickeris Pueblo, and his Lieutenant Anthony Nick Kidner from Pickeris Pueblo as well. I also saw in the crowd a few minutes ago, and I wanted to recognize him. Chief Public Defender Bennett Bowers, seated in the back, recognize our partners in the defense side of this. This is not a one-sided criminal justice process. Thank you for being here, Mr. Public Defender. Okay, last but certainly not least, and the most important group to recognize, welcome and gratitude to the citizens of Rio Arriba County and Espanola, New Mexico. Also recently brought to my attention that Cabinet Secretary of the Department of Transportation, Ricky Cerna, is with us. He's a Rio Arriba County resident. Thank you, Secretary Cerna, for being here. He did not refuse to identify himself and sit with the Cabinet. Thank you, Secretary, appreciate you. Okay, just a couple brief words about the format for this evening's town hall. There are two incredible staff members at the bottom of the stairs, James Mountain and Jim DeBlase. They both have microphones that are wireless. And the way we'll do it is folks can raise their hands. If you have a comment or a question that you'd like to be recognized by a member of the panel, one of the staff members will come up to you. And don't worry about timing or duration. The governor's committed to listening to your questions and wants to hear from this community. So don't worry about kind of what order folks go in. Additionally, we had intake forms that you folks might have seen when you checked in here as well as petitions related to the items that we'll be discussing here tonight. So any one of our staff members, in which there are many, will be able to assist you with constituent matters, intake forms, and as well as petitions. So please let us know if you have any questions related to those. And a final discussion about the goals of our town hall here are to stimulate robust discussion and idea generation, which the governor spoke about, surrounding the topic of public safety. Please raise your hand so that we can get a mic over to you so you can not only speak, but be heard by the rest of the group. We are broadcasting this live as well so that the rest of New Mexico can hear you. And please make every effort to keep decorum and respect at the top of our priority list. Focus your questions and comments on public safety to the degree that we're able, knowing that things are complicated and we want to hear from you about those. But respect for everyone here should be the watchword and what we are aiming to do. Applause is obviously encouraged, and we are grateful for applause when folks want to do it. But we are going to discourage folks from booing or heckling in any way, because everybody's voice here counts, regardless of their opinion or what side of the issue they fall on relative to you. We want people to be heard. So let's make our best effort to keep the decorum high so that we can be as productive as possible on these important topics. And with all of these important logistical things out of the way, we are ready to begin the public-facing part of this town hall. Who will have our first question? Oh yes, and please introduce yourself so we know you're talking. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mary Jane Parks. From just incarceration. So what would that look like? Are you talking about adult drug court or other specialty programs?
It could be any of those. The problem is we never get to those. These cases just get dismissed. So instead of a dismissal, there would be the opportunity with changes in the law about competency and a new definition and commitment. Individuals could be committed to inpatient treatment until they're ready for standing trial. And those could be, and then for folks that are doing well in that could change to community behavioral health. I do want to point out that it's not the system for folks who need access to behavioral health services and drug addiction who are willing to go. These are individuals that should not have to touch a corrections system or a court system at all. And we are doing much better in that space. We actually do have inpatient addiction treatment, investing here along this corridor. It's not going to be enough for still a while. I'd love to tell you that we can do that in 2 years, but I think in 2 years, people will see a remarkable difference. We've seen about 104% increase in just providers coming to New Mexico. So this is, instead of being dismissed to the streets, my mental health issue and my drug addiction can be managed in an inpatient, secure facility for a period of time that would be dedicated into that statute until you can go back and be held accountable if you're found guilty. And if you're not found guilty, you're on the road to recovery, because now we've gotten to the core of the issues that created the problem in the first place. So that's how that would work. It would also work on the civil side, changing the commitment law. And instead of 24 hours, 3 days, I mean, people go to hospitals too. We intersect, we don't take it to the jail, we go right to the hospital, and as soon as you're stable or detox, people are right back out. It's just this revolving door of risk. Family members that are trying to get loved ones into drug addiction treatment, that they will not go. It would also allow, if you meet the statutory criteria, you could also commit someone to appropriate number of days for drug treatment. Because we do have a population, particularly with fentanyl and meth, other opioids and alcohol, who cannot get well by themselves. It would not apply to kids. Parents need better access to treatment programs for kiddos, and we need to prevent that in much better ways around the state, but that's the concept. So we're not treating you in the jail, right? We're treating you with professionals who do treatment. That's not to say that jails don't have professionals, but we all know that's a very hard environment. But you do have to go back before the judge, because we're talking about rapes, attempted murders, human trafficking, drug dealing. These are serious crimes, but they can't stand for trial because they're not competent. So that's what this does.
Governor, my name is Sam Ledoux. I'm a city councilor here in Espanola, and I'm also a Northern alumni. And I want to thank you so much for being out here today listening to us. Being a Northern alumni, unfortunately, 10 of my classmates have passed away due to drug-related incidents. They made it to college. They tried everything they could to get through the system and do things the right way. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. And unfortunately, we see every day that the drug dealing that's going on here in Espanola is hurting all of us. Some say that drug dealing is not a violent crime. I have to say that it is. It is definitely a violent crime. And I see it on the streets, and I hear it in my community. Loved ones, just their lives destroyed by fentanyl. What are you trying to do to prosecute these drug dealers, but at the same time provide compassion and recovery for those who need it? I think we need a solution in the middle. I think we've tried both ways, too hard to the right and to the left, and we need to come together to try to find solutions for both recovery and prosecution. Thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out, Counselor. It's nice to see you here. And thank you for public leadership. These are hard jobs. So I think we need tougher penalties for drug dealing, particularly when we're peddling fentanyl. I mean, they are in and out, and in and out, and in and out, and it's the same bad actors, and they are creating risk that we can't keep up with for our young people. I'm going to do a couple of upstream things that are coming. So we've been testing mid-school, getting those kiddos into summer programs. I don't need kiddos out. Without enough supervision and support, our school programs are not really making the grade for before and after school. So we've got the National Guard doing these challenge programs, and the one that we have in Albuquerque at a very high risk middle school district called John Adams looks like it's going to be gangbusters. And I would submit with the state, with the number of resources we have, that ought to be a statewide model and available everywhere. So I want to make sure that we're also talking about ways to prevent kiddos from getting anywhere into risk. 3, our treatment programs are really antiquated, and you don't need me to deliver any more excuses to this community, but I just do want to say this because it's been harder than it should have been, and all of us are suffering, including this community, who had some risk before. So in 2019, I'm the luckiest human on earth because I'm governor of the best state in America. I'm lucky. I'm clear of how lucky. We're starting to reinvest in behavioral health because, as you all remember, we canceled, as a state, we canceled behavioral health. Now, 1, that's illegal, and 2, I think it's immoral, but it happened. So almost 8 years, not a single dollar. No Medicaid, no Medicare, because there were no providers. They literally took all their contracts and certifications. So from 19 to the middle of 21, we were settling lawsuits. I gotta give the then Attorney General a shout out. We were settling lawsuits from providers who had their certifications and their Medicaid reimbursements taken away, and they were arguably set up for prosecution for fraud that never occurred. So we did the investigations, the fraud never occurred. I had to settle all of their civil lawsuits. Meanwhile, we don't have any providers who will come to a state that would sue you and take away your licenses. That's why you had to settle those lawsuits. And now it's COVID. So we're not opening new practices. Everything is telehealth, right? You can't get in. And for drug treatment, telehealth is not the best option for that set of services. And what are all of our inpatient providers doing? They're treating the Mexicans with COVID. So it was literally, you got knocked down, we got up, and then we got knocked down over and over again until about 22. The last 2 years, we have really been rushing to get these treatment programs up. We're gonna need a smattering of everything, inpatient, longer than 28 days. We need to have community
I wish you were here,
structured
James.
programs, peer counselors, Presbyterian,
Could have done a photo
managed
op.
care is in Espanola, you know, they're responsible for the hospital, and I'm gonna bark at one of my staff members just to show you that, you know, we don't do everything right. She's amazing, by the way. But Ms. de Blasi, I saw all the stuff that Presbyterian identified. They want peer support, they want community health workers, they want to build some more inpatient clinics, they want more help from our Pueblo partners, they're gonna get it. Well, I looked at that laundry list as a payment plan from these folks to Presbyterian. And what do you think I said? No. They need to do that. They get billions of dollars. They can stand up a lot of that themselves. It's what we increase their reimbursement for. No longer are there copays. We pay more for behavioral services than anywhere. So remember when everybody went to Colorado? We pay more, a lot more for those services. For bringing in psychiatrists. So longer inpatient treatment, a better connection and care navigation to outside treatment, removal from all of the risks and triggers, safe housing and work. You can't treat someone and then throw them back out in the streets and ask them to get a job. They need help doing all of that. Those services are all being built like a rocket. So we're on it, we're in the rocket, we fueled up, we lit it, but we're gonna have to keep refueling while we're going up, right? Now, I don't, you live here, you know it's not all here as easy as I'm making it, but I'll tell you this, you have somebody, a family member, a constituent that needs that service right now, that will go, these HMOs, if it's not right here, they will pay for it. In Colorado, or Arizona, or Nevada, or Texas, wherever it is, until everything is localized right here. So it's going to be all of the above. Inpatient, outpatient, including mandatory outpatient. Every single public health office will do medication-assisted treatment. Maybe not everyone, but one at least nearly in every large city and county. So those are already available. We stood those up in a second. Because medication-assisted treatment, both for drug addiction and mental health, are critical components for people to get well, particularly from opioid addictions. And they're brand new drugs and brand new treatments. And they're here. They're right here in this public health office. And if we're not meeting someone's need, Counselor, I need you to tell me.
Good evening. Thanks for coming, everyone. My name is Deborah Wilson, and I moved to the beautiful land of Enchantment almost 2 decades ago. I have no plans of going back. But I come from a state where they would never tolerate hearing that someone had a DUI or DWI for the 5th or 6th or 7th time, and they were out of prison. It's just unacceptable. And so I wonder what you're doing specifically to treat this traditional addiction and strengthen the laws so we can take their cars away and put them away once and for all. Thank you.
So I appreciate that question about driving while intoxicated, and now that we've got both alcohol and legal cannabis, this intoxication, not driving while under the influence, takes on a whole different, broader meaning. I think that this commitment and competency is a way to start really focusing on the fact that we're not holding anyone accountable anywhere in our court systems. That has to change. I did not bring a specific either extension or requirement for driving while intoxicated. I will tell you it has come up, rightfully so, in every single one of our town halls. The legislature it has one proposal, is to raise the taxes on alcoholic drinks, which in other states has limited some access that's inappropriate, and then has considerable resources for treatment, so that you don't forget the treatment side. But I think we're gonna have to rewrite a bunch of these criminal codes. The reason that we don't like to take cars away, and I understand it, but I have to say, I'm moving towards a more pragmatic approach, which is cars become weapons to individuals who are intoxicated, and people lose their lives. Innocent people in this state over and over and over again. And I think that intersection is going to have to be less tolerated by our policymakers, and it would be less tolerated by me. I sign on the dotted line. What we could do about cars, because if you have a spouse that has the car impounded, the other spouse needs it, has to pay for it, doesn't have any resources, can't drive the kids to school. So I understand the underlying issues, but we ought to find ways to pay for transportation for that family and take the risk out. Because whatever that would cost temporarily is a lot less than the pain and suffering of losing someone and the trauma that reoccurs to families. I think we've gotten really myopic about accountability versus strategic investments so that families can do what they need to do to stay out of trouble, to have a fair shake and some opportunity. So I'm there. This is a state that has long been known where no one, no matter the crime, does not get held accountable. And again, I think it's because we were doing crime all the time. It's just really a pendulum swing. We're swinging too far. So we went from crime, and nothing upstream. No education, no treatment, no supports, no economic activity, no support with housing and utility, nothing. And so poor people in New Mexico, which is every family to some degree, it's really hard out there. And things are improving, but it's still hard. Ask anyone. It's hard. So we said, okay, we gotta stop criminalizing poverty. I agree. And then the pendulum swung way over here. We don't hold anybody accountable. You can steal as much as you want. You can break into a resident as much as you want. You can drive a car while you're intoxicated as much as you want. You can drug deal for as long as you want, wherever you want. You can have firearms and be out if you're convicted in record time. The federal system does not look like this. Most state systems do not look like this. So instead of this big swing, pragmatic approaches, we should not criminalize poverty. We should maximize opportunity. But people who are repeat offenders should not be out. And you should also know it wasn't in a special session, but I've asked for 5 years in a row for pretrial detention. And I don't get it. And for some of these bills, and I'm picking on them a little, being a legislator's not easy. I was a county commissioner, gotta make quick decisions, it's hard work. I was a policymaker in Congress. Now I don't have to do the policies, I just have to ask for them and execute them. To some degree, it's a bit easier. But I can't get pretrial detention either. Repeat offenders are out over and over and over again. I got no bond hold, which means for a repeat person in a felony, I can hold you. But it's narrow, and it's not pretrial detention, which by the way is the federal system. I'm getting 30-second hearings, if that. in the committees of jurisdiction in the House and the Senate. I'm going to defend the legislature. They remember the days when they couldn't get any of the educational investments. They couldn't get upstream. I got it. But we're doing that now. To ignore that people are at risk and being harmed is wrong. And if this community agrees with me, tell your legislators. Tell them. Tell them you want a special session. Tell them you want all these bills on my desk on a week in the 60th session. And I want to be careful, not every legislator was there. Many legislators, including the one here tonight, never got a chance to debate or vote on any of the bills I'm talking about in the special session. I want to be really clear about that. The leadership never let the bills go to a committee, never let them be introduced, never read them out to the caucus, never evaluated them, never talked to you about them. They just adjourned. So, and there, I get it, governors should not take lightly that you just don't call in the legislature when you decide you want something. That's also wrong. But I think we're at a critical point here, where if we don't do the work that's necessary to be bolder, we will never catch up. And the people who are living on the streets, who need our help, will never find them, because they're being recruited by organized bad actors and re-criminalized, and then you are re-victimized, and that must end.
Hi, good evening, Governor. My name is Shannon Baum Diaz, and I'm author of Breaking the Chains by the Supernatural Power of Jesus, but I'm that person. I'm that person that got 5 DWIs. I'm that person that was on drugs. For 20 years of my life, I was in addiction, and I didn't know how to break out of that addiction. And it was only by being held accountable that going to prison, actually, I found my way and I was able to break through, changing my way of thinking. And I want to say, I've been in now community work and outreach now for these past 7 years. I've just been out there trying to work with the community. And what I see is that we really need to start putting in our school systems preventive measures. I mean, even if it's an hour a day, but prevention to our kids before they get to that point, before they get to there. And what I see in our little town is that we all started somewhere. I started with marijuana and drinking because that's what parties were in my family, in this community, in this generational place that we're in. It was all about partying. I started with a little pot here and there. And here at this place, that's what I see here is that we have 15 marijuana shops and 2 recovery places. And we need more recovery places. We need more transitional houses. We need to be able to not only get them into the recovery, but then afterwards teach them how to live another life. And that means not coming back into this environment until they're ready, which is 2, 3, 4 years maybe. It took me 2 years out of this place before I could even step foot here to help the people, just because of the triggers, just because if you go into the same environment with the same people, it's going to take you back down that road. And so, maybe even looking at teaming up with out-of-state, recoveries, that we could send our people there to start their lives there and start teaching them how to live that new life and maybe bringing them in. But, we need to look at a bigger picture of the environment where they're in, because a lot of them, they're already familiar with Espanola, Santa Fe, Taos, Albuquerque, and that's where their drug dealers are. You know somebody in there just from going into jail, in and out of jail. That's just how it works. That's where you meet the drug dealers, in the jail. Then you come out and you start dealing for yourself so that you can make the money so you can support your habit. And so if we could maybe, look at that more in depth of, of course, holding them accountable, because I'm all for that. You need to hold them accountable for their actions, for criminal actions that we do when we're in our active addiction. But also giving them that choice of, you can do 3-year sentence, a prison sentence, not a jail sentence, a prison sentence, or you can do a year in recovery. And if you leave that recovery, you're going back to prison. And I think that's what it's going to have to take. And then not only that, but after the recovery, because we all know that 30 days ain't going to cut it. And then there's 60, I mean, 6 months is barely scratching the surface. It took me 2 years just, in my recovery. So, I'm saying we really need to, like doing what you're saying and putting out more recovery places, but we need definitely more beds here.
So we have about 140 beds available. I don't think we navigate those very well. And I'm going to tell you, no offense to Secretary Allen, the state needs to do a better job, and we need to step up. We're going to. So just, I want you to hear that we can take responsibility for the things that we can do better. I love your idea about the out-of-state partnerships, because I know that that could really make a difference. My nephew would not be sober today if he didn't get treatment in Arizona and California. He cannot come back to New Mexico. He can only be in California because there's too many triggers here. So he can't do it, but he's sober and successful. So I've been looking at those models. They've been harder to figure out, but I think we can figure them out. I'm so grateful that you raised that. I'm so impressed with your courage to talk about your personal story and that you came back. And that's exactly this competency commitment, that we want people treated. So if you're in treatment and you stay and you're doing well, that doesn't mean that you may not end up in prison if you murdered or raped someone. But you get the right start, and then we continue that, and then we make sure that when you do your accountability sentence, we have to keep that treatment. Here's another area, and my Secretary of Corrections is aware. We do a pretty darn good job in corrections with the rehabilitation and GED. We're like the highest in the country for getting that done. Honestly, and she's amazing, we're not doing a very good job about reentry. Now we know that. It's on our list to really prop that up. There's another intersection of risk. You get out of prison after all those issues, you go back into your community with all these triggers, with $10 in your pocket, you're dropped off into a really high-risk area. Who's there to welcome you home? A drug dealer. That's a felon, a dangerous felon. We got a lot of people who are past felonies, who are totally rehabilitated, who are good citizens, who are working, and give back to their community. I'm talking about repeat offenders who are not rehabilitated. I want to be careful that you don't let me say that everyone who's been in a correction system never gets better. That's not true. But we have some real risks. So thank you for raising all of those. And we agree, we need to get into the schools earlier, which is part of the reason. Infant, toddler, home visiting, childcare, early childhood, prevention programs in the schools, before and after school programs, all of that is well underway. Do I think you have enough of it in the Rio Grande Valley? I don't. So we're going to need a lot more, and your point is not lost on me about the number of cannabis stores. Expect the state to propose some restrictions, and I don't want to say moratorium yet. It's not working the way that we intended for it to roll out. So again, you deserve a governor who will tell you the truth, who will own the things that don't quite work, and not be defensive. That's one that's going to need a little work. I don't think it's right. So thank you for raising that issue as well.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, panel. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm going to give some words here on behalf of Governor Phillips. He's a little under the weather, and we've got to get back to some activities at home. So I wanted to just speak to you and offer you some words. I think everything that everybody said, there's a lot of good ideas and there's a lot of good thoughts. And I think the best thing we can tell you tonight, speaking on behalf of Okeowinge, is that we're in this with you. And Mayor, we're in this with you, and it's our valley too, and we want to help, we want to participate, we help with the whatever needs to happen to help fix this. But I do want to tell us, including us, okay, including this guy talking right here, that it is, at least half of this is on us. I mean, the state can only do so much from the roundhouse in Santa Fe. We've got to meet it halfway and help with all of this stuff. So Thank you. On behalf of the governor and lieutenant, we're going to excuse ourselves, but thank you all very much.
Hello, Madam Governor. I'm TJ Lopez from northern Rio County, and I just want to say that the crime isn't just here in Española. And we have a gentleman here who tries to help us fight crime who doesn't recognize that Sheriff Billy Merrifield and his staff. And to the men and women in black here, I don't know, Sergeant Romero, they're the ones protecting us in the north. But there's only 5 of them working a shift from 2 to 6, 6 to 10. After 10 o'clock, there's no dispatch. Even Fish can't even respond in time. Governor, you said you think they got early child care. My daughter's a benefit of that. What is there to look forward to if she can't be safe when we go to the Puti Española? You know, there are times I couldn't carry my firearm today because I have to work up on the hill and come to the meeting. But I have to carry a firearm to protect my daughter on the streets of Española. Don't take those away from us. Because cartels are here, they have more guns than we do. They're big guns. I was camping the other day with my daughter, and we stumbled on some individuals that didn't look like they were camping with AK-47s and boots and other weapons that they didn't have. What they were doing in the forest, I don't know, but I can probably say they probably wanted to grow pot. We left. So it's just not here in Española, it's county-wide, it's statewide. So please help us. Thank you.
TJ, thank you for being here. I agree with you. We need more police. Remember I said at the onset that we have the same number or fewer, it's actually fewer, by about 1,000 officers statewide than we had 30 years ago, 10 years ago. It makes no sense. We stopped investing. Now, I appreciate that it takes all of us. Cities and counties have got to put resources aside for police officers. The state put in $136 million for just retention bonuses, recruitment for new officers and their salaries statewide alone. And it's a simple grant request. Every police jurisdiction is eligible. Now, what they're also going to tell you, it's not so easy to recruit police officers anymore. People don't want to be nurses, doctors, behavioral health workers, police officers, firefighters, because somewhere in this high-risk, really tough environment, these are the toughest jobs on earth. They're rewarding, but they're tough. And so it's been really challenging to recruit. Now, I will tell you,
I wonder where she gets these statistics
we've
from.
also
I wonder
recruited
where she gets these
about
numbers
500, and we've invested a ton. So we agree. I agree with you. And I'm likely to ask the legislature for more. Earlier today, so sheriff and police chiefs, we may need to do some joint recruiting, because with our para benefits, you can do a transfer, I think, after 8 years from other jurisdictions and meet those para benefits and then some. Because their retirements in other states is not nearly as good. Are we marketing? Are we recruiting? Do we have brochures? Are we going to their state fairs? They're at ours. Those dang Texas Rangers are at our state fair every time. Let's take over the Texas State Fair. All right, so we can do so much more. So there's a lot going on, but we're gonna have to be more strategic because it's too slow. So that's one. Firearms, we're not trying to take firearms from any responsible gun owner, but we are trying to address that the people who are giving and selling handguns to people who are felons and not allowed to have them, to teenagers who are not allowed to have a handgun, to seriously mentally ill individuals living on the streets and otherwise not allowed to have them. That is part of this. They should be held accountable for that. So if you're selling guns or providing weapons to people who are not supposed to have them, you're in trouble. Like, not in this state you're not, but you should be. Here's something else to know, and I'm not picking on anyone. It's just fact. Our DAs, in large part, I was gonna generalize, it varies from city to city, but there was a pretty damning report by CNN last year that said New Mexico has all the smart, meeting the Second Amendment, which we have to do, and even if we didn't have to do it, this is a state that would want to do that. Meeting all of those requirements, all the right laws, extreme risk protection orders, right? So somebody with an extreme mental illness, they have a firearm, you gotta report it. We can take that firearm temporarily until we have the judge decide what happens next. Domestic violence, you can have a judge decide to take that gun into possession until we know what's happening. 7-day waiting period will save in New Mexico alone more than 400 people who died suicide because they have a mental health issue that we couldn't find in the 3 days because you can't do enough of the work to figure out what's going on. That's why you extend that waiting period. Because the FBI and their data has to defer constitutionally that if they don't finish the report in time, they just have to provide the gun. So that's how we end up with so many firearms for people who wouldn't be like you. A responsible, lawful owner, trained and safe with a firearm. DAs here, we don't use any of those tools. That CNN report was very clear. What is happening in New Mexico that none of these tools get used, and since those laws have passed, people have lost their lives. And primarily, women and innocent people in a mass shooting in Farmington. These gun laws can work, but your point is very valid. You don't feel safe? That's outrageous. You're seeing people with what you believe, it sounded to me like unlawful activity and potentially unlawful firearms. Outrageous. And they can't get into the hands of the people that I just said. One last thing. Until last year, far too many New Mexico police jurisdictions, including sheriffs, were not using the federal database system so that we could not do ballistics on guns. So if you're gonna hold bad actors accountable, you gotta do that work. So you're pushing out money, gun detection, swap, you're doing all of it. But we also need our law enforcement jurisdictions to feel like they've got a partner. They're not being vilified. And I know that this is a community that doesn't do that. But we gotta stand up and invest and give them the tools that they need to do better work because they need all of it. So I just wanted to answer that and let you know that I'm worried about all the illicit guns in New Mexico, just like you. Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Tercio, thank you for bringing your comments forward this evening. The last 2 years, when I entered office as mayor, we had our police officers making $23 an hour. $23 an hour to sacrifice their lives and risk their lives for our community. We have now, in the last 3-4 months, have gotten our pay up to $30 an hour, and so we've actually been able to recruit and retain police officers here in the city of Espanola. The police department now is budgeted at 32 officers. We have 28 officers currently. I commend the work of the chief of police to constantly be recruiting. One of the things that makes it so difficult here in Espanola is because of our budget, we're not able to offer the competitive salaries in Santa Fe County, Riobamba County, City of Santa Fe, and as well as Los Alamos National Laboratory security systems. But thanks to the governor's law enforcement retention fund, coupled with the pay increases and the retention fund, we've been able to retain our officers and keep at 28. I think the chief also has indicated to me we hope to have 32 officers by the end of the year, correct, Chief? And it's a long work to come in progress, but in 17 years, this is the most staffed the police department has been. We're really excited about that. We've made strides. We're going to keep on doing it. I want to thank all of our law enforcement officers for the sacrifices that they do. And again, $30 an hour to sacrifice your life, it's still not reasonable. The city of Espanola will continue to make investments for public safety and getting our department. I'm going to turn over to the chief because he has a big mindset regarding size right in departments.
Good evening. As you all know, I've been here 2 years, 4 months. I came from a large department where I had a budget that was pretty much unlimited. I come from the Albuquerque Police Department. I spent 28 years there. My division itself was 3 times the size of my department. My budget was twice as much, if not 3. So I've had to learn on the run. And what I've learned about our community and our police department, and I say this continuously, we are part of the community. We come from Velarde. We have someone that comes from as far away as Dulce. We have, and I love the ones that come from Albuquerque and Rio Rancho. We need more homegrown officers. We need more females. And what I've learned in Espanola is it's not always about the money. Myself, I was born and raised in Espanola. I came 41 years later after I left Espanola. And I wanted to come here, but I will say something to you all. This isn't the Espanola that I left. It's not the Espanola that I left. It wasn't even close. And I do my best every day. I promised the mayor that I would come and live here because I believe in our community. I still have family here. But I think what we need to do, and I think the governor and the mayor have said it repeatedly, this is a joint effort. It's no longer, I started in 1994, and I believe there only might be one person who's been on as long or longer than me is the secretary over there. We both started in 1994. So I've seen a lot of law enforcement. I've seen the changes. I've seen that we have baby boomers, we have X, we have millennials, and now we're starting to see our Zs. And we have to continue that law enforcement tradition because not everybody wants to be a cop anymore. Nope. It's no longer just a job, it's a profession now. And it's not a profession where we ourselves deal with it, it's all of us. I think it's more than community policing. But I think the mayor was saying by the end of the year, I'm hoping, I'm a little bit more optimistic, a little more aggressive. We're going to be at 32 before the end of August, if I can help it. So we're trying to do that. And I do appreciate everything that the governor has given us. Just within the last 3 weeks, I gave my officers a $4,891 retention fund. Retention. It's not easy, I'm going to tell you all. I've seen it, but we're getting there. And it's a community effort. I appreciate all the support from our community. I also appreciate you all telling me where we're lacking. And I have no problem with that. Anybody can come up. I make the mistake of giving my phone number out on the radio on Que Dice every other week. My phone number's out there. That's why I get calls at Saturday morning at 1:30 telling me that my neighbor's radio is too loud or my dog's barking, my neighbor's dog's barking. We're part of this community. I'm part of it. I also appreciate our other local law enforcement agencies. Sheriff Merrifield and I, we meet. Chief Maestas over here, we meet all the time. I met with Chief Trujillo, our 911 director, state police, with Captain Casals. We have that relationship here that we all are working towards. It's not just one person, but I want to tell you all, please reach out. Please tell us what we can do better, because we are from here. I am from here. My mom and dad are from Espanola. I am from Espanola, and we put in everything we can.
With all due respect, I'm here to advocate for my young cousin, 8 years old, who has opioid and heroin-related challenges. He has 5 diagnoses, being diagnosed by Dr. Lauren Parks. I'm his legal guardian 4 years now, and I've been advocating for him for 4 years. Without going into too much detail, I have not had success or support from tribal or federal agencies. He deserves justice. He deserves a trust fund from the opioid settlement so he can have hope that as he becomes an adult, he has the means to not repeat the cycle of addiction. He also deserves support now from the opioid settlement. He and all children born with in utero exposure, which often progresses into physical and mental challenges lifelong, deserve the support needed, and the opioid settlement should be used to build a building with therapists and tools that would help in their development. A building solely for them, opioid and heroin-related children. And opiate-related children, not children with FAS or not babies harmed by any other addiction. This just has to be solely for opioid-challenged children, for which there are many. Also, his parents deserve to be rehabbed with the opioid settlement money. None of this is happening. Where is the opioid money? Where is it? On the backs of these children suffering from their parents' choices, and on the backs of the adults suffering heroin and opioid addiction, and on the lost lives of those who overdosed, people somewhere are benefiting from the opioid settlement. And it's not the innocent children, it's not the victims or the addicted. Also, programs need to be audited because the grant monies aren't used to support the foster kids or the caretakers. We're left to seek support and resources on our own, and these programs selectively service certain families, their relatives, or who they prefer. The only support for me are the kinship programs, Los Alamos Healthy Families, Lori Padilla, and Wendy Cruz of Las Cumbres. My cousin literally was dropped off at my home 4 years ago. And since I've had to advocate on my own, I've got no guidance or no help. I'm tired of crying. I also want justice because the feds, CYFD, and tribal social services dropped the ball. Why was there never a home study? They do not want to be accountable for why he was living in a drug den here in Espanola with no running water, no electricity, severely emaciated, no toilet, no food when found by chance during a raid. He was neither the target nor the victim. He has suffered much trauma. No one will help me advocate for justice. I'm tired. My family suffered trauma from his trauma. I want accountability. I can't even get help from the state agent's office. And his mom recently had another child for which my young cousin hasn't been informed. Another child born with opioid-related challenges. And the rhetoric about keeping siblings together is just that, rhetoric. There has been no bonding with my cousin and his only sibling. He also deserves visitation, and the court, well, that's a whole other issue. I've gotten nowhere with our tribal court except a scolding from the judge for all me and my family have done, caretaking, going above and beyond, a scolding from the judge. Also, I've gone through missing and murdered to seek assistance for my cousin's mom. Everything I could think of to get support, I've done.
Thank you very much for telling your story. I can't find words adequate to respond to your pain and suffering for you and your whole family. But I can do a couple of things. And I might have Secretary Allen do, good news and tough news. I'm going to do straight talk to everyone. One, the CYFD, actually, to your point, and we will have even bigger trouble trying to figure out ways to make this smarter and more meaningful. So the laws for CYFD and families affected in this way were written in a way to keep families together, to not judge, because we want voluntary drug treatment by the parents. I didn't write that, but I can actually understand that sentiment. That you don't want to push families away, they leave, we can't find them, and then we have the disconnected family situation that you described. But everything we do, when a hospital calls the state and says, we have a drug-addicted baby, they're required to do that. The only thing that we can do is offer services to the parents. It's voluntary. In large part, those parents, because they're sick, do not meet the voluntary conditions and don't stay where we know they are. And it is true that the CYFD system has been challenged by that, has been criticized for that fairly, and has worked to try to intervene in that without changing the law. We're going to ask the legislature to change that law. And that's going to be a huge debate between voluntary investments and non-voluntary. Something to think about is whether or not we should incentivize parents to stick with us by helping with the kinds of expenses that you described that are really hard for the family. That through no choice of your own, except for the love of your family, you're taking care of an 8-year-old child with incredible needs, and that's something we're thinking about. So I'm going to let you know that there's a lot of people who have heard stories like yours. We're clear that the system doesn't work for them, but works against them. And we want to change that. But that's another area in the legislature. If you're interested in helping us, that's going to be a heavy lift. I'm going to have them talk about the opioid settlement. Good news is money's making its way down to localities, and it's sizable investments. Bad news is it's not intended for individual reparation, if you will. But you could create programs that create the kind of wraparound services that you're talking about. So it's likely not going to make its way to families who have been victimized, like yours, in a trust fund. But it should translate into the services. That resource center that you just talked about, I would actually like to work with you and challenge your thinking a little if you promise to keep challenging me so that we get it right, because kids suffer. We have a couple really good interdisciplinary, high-risk kids with these kinds of issues that change their brains, have incredible risk for them and risk for their families. And the services of treatment, I would love to say, man, I don't think that's a very effective description. There's lots to support you. I would be fibbing. That description is exactly what it's like. I hate it. But I saw a really good program, Ms. DeBlasi and I, at Cannon Air Force Base. And I'll bet we could bring that doc and some of their pediatricians. And I think we should think about a way, and we've got a legislator who's still here, but others, why don't we try to identify opioid settlement money? We'll cobble together with the city and the county all the players who all get impacted, and then add resources to create a medical, community-based resource home for all kids that have, regardless of whether it's an opioid or alcohol. I mean, fetal alcohol syndrome is still a significant issue in the state. And we shouldn't separate kids and families by diagnosis. We should have people, at least I think. I want you to challenge me, because you're doing it every day. I'm not. But I think if you had the right specialists, the right treatments, and supports for families would be there irrespective of which drug created what problem for those little ones. And last, before I give it to Secretary Allen, if you're willing, I'd love to get your name and number. Because I bet there are things that we can do better right now. Why wait? Let's see what we can do. And I'm not sure if you're a tribal member or you're ICWA is also, as you know, a very important standard, which means sovereignty and tribal communities have a different set of CYFD requirements and services and circumstances that I shouldn't have power over, and we don't. And we've made some good changes, but we should talk to the tribal community about where they're falling short and what I can do that supports them in the same way I'm asking the mayor to help us figure it out. Should be a team effort. So if you're willing, I'd like to find better pathways. I'm sure I won't be able to do it all. I'm likely to make a mistake or two. But if you'll hang in there with us, I feel pretty confident we can make your life, and more importantly, create success for this 8-year-old. So the whole community knows about the opioid settlement. I'm going to give that to Secretary Allen.
Thank you, Governor. Two things really quickly. First, before the opioid settlement dollars, just in terms of prevention, in the last 2 years, we've doubled the number of school-based health centers, and we've added money to their budgets for behavioral health, so focusing on prevention. trying to help your nephew avoid the addictions that have affected his life so far. In terms of opioid settlement dollars, we're spending that money right here, right now in Espanola today. We have medication-assisted treatment that's available in our public health office here in Espanola. It's best to get an appointment, but you don't have to have an appointment. Anybody, anywhere, anytime can call our helpline, 1-800-SOUTHWEST-NURSE, SWNURSE. You've still got an hour to call tonight if someone would like to get treatment and get hooked up with an office somewhere in the state, here in Espanola or anywhere else. We're also working with tribes, pueblos, and nations on services in those areas. We're not doing that here right now, but governors that are here, we're certainly interested in having more conversations. We probably need a little more resource from the legislature to be able to continue to spread that. But we're spending that money right now on how to get people treatment and get them out of the cycle of addiction and get them out of the cycle of crime that we've been talking about.
I don't know if you want to talk about the total statewide amount and how much money makes its way to cities and counties. Go ahead.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Secretary. The City of Espanola this past April embarked on creating a Department of Social Services, a department that would be focused on providing mental health, public health, child welfare, elderly, disability, and other human services. We hired Ms. Michelle Frere. She's sitting up here in the front. She's been with the city about a month. It allows us the opportunity with the City of Espanola to devote full-time staff to handle the drug addiction, substance abuse that has affected this community for many years. They're working with young house population as well. She's in the process of hiring peer support workers that are going to assist her. If you don't mind, Governor, can we let her? Thank you, Governor. Michelle, would you come on up real quick and just talk briefly about your new department and some of your goals to assist here locally in our valley?
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you, Governor, for being here as well. So ultimately, I am the Director of Social Services for the City of Espanola. And so ultimately, in my department, there's physically one person at the moment, but I do not act physically alone. As I joined on June 10th, which was the actual official day that I stepped foot on Espanola. And I stepped foot on the ground and I came in and boots on the ground day one. I immersed myself in the community, and ultimately my goal was to find who are my local resources. Because as I'm from here, I'm from Chimayo, families from Chimayo, Santa Fe area. I left, went to Albuquerque, got my education, came back, and I thought, what are the spots that are missing? What are the basic needs that we need to kind of fulfill? So, like I said, I immersed myself in the community. I determined basic needs that need to be fulfilled are things that we take for granted. Identification, birth certificates, Medicaid, insurance, all of these things that I found. So I worked together with Daniel Warwick, who's part of the Office of the Governor. And as we worked together, just through word of mouth and boots on the ground, I was able to establish an ID clinic enrollment fair. Motor vehicle came down, vital statistics, Medicaid, MCOs, everyone was here. The individuals who benefited from this were not just individuals from the encampment, but individuals from the community. They were able to obtain these documents day of, and because of that, now we can move to the next step. So I'm gracious that the mayor has allowed me some time to work with these individuals and kind of keep increasing that. So I am working with local resources, MCOs, everyone to kind of determine this. So the opioid settlement fund is currently what my position is funded from. I am working on obtaining more grants, working with other individuals and the community to be able to keep this going. I'm not only focused on the in-house, but I also focus on the seniors in the community, the youth of the community. So as I am one person, I say I work with other individuals. So I would like to be that hub, and I am creating the hub here in the city of Espanola because I was able to determine those needs, and those needs now are easily accomplished, but it takes work, and it takes, it's that hard sweat and tears, honestly. I have had tears, as probably many of you have seen, because I am soft that way, but my tears are tears of joy. So I'm starting off small, but the plans that I have are making a huge impact, and I will continue to do so. The next question is up here to your right.
Hello, my name is Ryan Martinez. I work for the Healthcare Authority in Queens Park Division here in Grisham County. I'm 50 years old, born and raised here in Santa Cruz, New Mexico. I now live about a mile from here. I worry because there's a homeless encampment about a quarter mile to the east of me. There's a drug dealer that lives on my road about a quarter mile to the west of me. They're stealing from my neighbor to the right of me, trying to sell it to the neighbor to the left of me, to take it to the drug dealer up the street to get their drugs, whatever they need. They're panhandling. They're about a quarter mile from Walgreens, maybe a mile from Walmart, a quarter mile from CVS. They panhandle, they steal, they steal purses from old ladies. They aggressively panhandle. If you don't give them money, they get aggressive. They want it from us. We have this encampment here in town next to the river, like I say, in the middle of our community, and it seems like our city is enabling these people because we do have a homeless shelter, but the homeless shelter doesn't let you use. These people don't want to stop using. So it's easier for them, and we're making it easy because we're not putting them off the outskirts of town. They don't have to work for their drugs. They don't have to walk for their drugs. They don't have to go very far to hurt people, steal, and commit these felonies, these things that you were saying, because it's not just an addiction. It's a crime that's being committed against our community in this beautiful valley every single day, 24 hours a day. And we're enabling these people by allowing them why are we as a city and as a valley and as proud people that have been here for centuries allowing this to happen down the street from us? And we're enabling them. It's like keeping your drug-addicted kid in the basement, and now you're letting his friends come in. And now you're shipping in his friends from Santa Fe, from Taos, from Albuquerque, because they know it's easy here. We're enabled here. We take them food to their camps so they can eat. We give them space right here in the community to take from us and steal from us and hurt us, and we're not doing anything about it. They're living there being taken care of. I have to pay for my trash every week to get picked up from my home. If I don't pay for that, they'll put a lien on my home. These people are living there. We pick up their trash for free. We take them food for free. We give them clothes for free and enable them to hurt our community, our loved ones, our mothers, our grandmothers, our children that are in the community that we care about. Why are we doing this, and what are we going to do to stop
So I'm hoping you can come to all the town halls across the state with me, because that was the best articulation. No one is being, I don't want that either, to be not compassionate, to not understand some underlying root causes. But I brought all the mayors, and this mayor, and I'm going to give him the microphone, came to my mayor's meeting, where I brought in experts who said, you have to clean encampments. You cannot allow that. Now, what you should do is what we're doing is provide services, but you make it clear there's accountability, that services doesn't mean that you can steal and you can be a felon and you can do open drug use, which is a crime. So I really want New Mexico cleaned up. I am tired, and I must be preaching to the choir. I'm tired of videos. I'm tired of fentanyl right next to the cars I drive. I'm tired of people getting to New Mexico from everywhere. They're not from here, and it's not that we're cruel. We are a very compassionate state. But this is now an intersection of significant crime. And also, the national trend, which I think shows real merit, is that you can't have these services nearby. It cannot be where they can do retail theft and related crimes. So I don't know, where the city and the county are going, but know this, that the money we're gonna spend on homelessness, and I have 20 million, again, you know, the state's doing it, which is fine. I have a lot of responsibility. But I need mayors and county commissioners, not picking on this mayor, statewide. And I need legislators to start to put their money into solving this problem with accountability tools. Because I can't arrest you for drug dealing and using if you're out in 10 hours. You're right back. We clean 1,000 encampments a month in Albuquerque. 1,000. And they're right back and they're bigger the second time. So you have to be vigilant. We need tools so that people are being held accountable. We need small towns, and you're right. I believe you're right. That little towns are bringing their homeless to you. Torrance County said that at our meeting, that they can't provide services, so they take every at-risk person, put them in a vehicle, and drop them off. Eubank and Central in Albuquerque. It's happening to everyone. I want intakes. I want to know why you're here, what happened. I want to provide services. If you'll get clean, you'll be right with the law, you'll stay away from an encampment, and if you've committed a felony, you're accountable. Period. So I'm going to need you, because you say it so much better than I do. People who need our help, we can help. The people who are just repeating crimes and taking advantage cannot be in our communities without guardrails and accountability. And that's what some of these bills that I asked the legislature to do, and I've agreed to partner with every single local government official to clean up their communities. Thank you. I agree with you.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Ryan, for coming this evening. One of the biggest things in leadership is when you admit you're wrong. And this is a true situation of admitting fault. And I, as mayor, I completely take full responsibility for that situation, because as a policymaker, it's important that we take the recommendation of city staff. City staff is the individuals that work day in and day out with the unhoused and unsheltered
Did you hear
population.
that? Did you guys hear that?
They're the ones that came up with the discussion
This
regarding
fucker
moving encampments.
is an idiot.
All the discussion regarding homelessness and such in our community has been handled by city staff. But unfortunately, as we saw at the May 16th town hall meeting that was held at the senior center, was this community is not in favor of any sort of situation that we were providing there. City staff made the recommendation and they followed through with that. In the last 2 months, we've been working with the governing body. Now, the governing body is going to be tasked with all aspects of unhoused and unsheltered population here in Espanola, because the governing body represents the public. The staff, unfortunately, does not always look at the best interests of the public, rather their experiences and utilization, and they will be utilized for consult. But members of the governing body will be directing all future aspects regarding the unhoused and the homeless population in our community. There's a
shrubs and waiting for the fire to be happen, and when you have the whole community living down there, it's gonna happen, and this community's gonna be really devastated.
So Ryan, now the city, the governing body is taking steps to remove these individuals from the encampment. I want to applaud Councilor Benavides. Councilor Benavides will be chairing that committee along with Councilor Pedro Valdez, Councilor Nanette Rodriguez, and Councilor Felicia Archuleta Toya. All discussion regarding the unhoused and the homeless population in our community will now be done strictly by the governing body. And city staff will provide recommendations, but they will not be leading the charge. The governing body is responsible for doing what the public wants. And it was very made clear on May 16th that the public did not support the encampment and supporting the unhoused population in our community. And we are taking now the steps to be doing that. And I take full responsibility as mayor of our city for not having the governing
He's only
body
saying
do
that
this.
now because the governor's here. He's not doing it because of anything else. He should have done this back then.
You know, we had city staff creating task forces and inviting citizen members, and then there was malicious rumors going about relocating the homeless to random areas of the county and such.
He's a
These
liar.
are
There's
not decisions that
documentation.
represent the best interest of the city of Espanola.
There's documentation.
That's why the governing body is going to be completely responsible for all discussion regarding the unhoused and the homeless population in our community so that this situation does not happen again. City staff will provide recommendations. Public safety, I'm going to yield to the chief of police because we've had multiple issues and instances down there actually where we have been dispatched with the police department to break up situations down there. And so I'm going to yield to the chief of police.
Thank you, sir. What I want to do, and it's been published, and as you all know, as the chief of police, I will never criminalize.
These guys are idiots.
That's not what we do in the city of Espanola. What we do is we address crime not only within our homeless community, but throughout the community. Now, I can feel your frustration, sir, and especially when you're talking about drugs. I spent the majority of my career in that area, and I hear your frustration. But let me give you a little bit of, no excuses, but of what we face every day and every law enforcement officer faces. We want to take everybody that violates the law to jail. Unfortunately, and I'm not going to blame anyone, there's going to be no blame here, but unfortunately, whatever happens after we make that arrest, we have no control over it. We make, I can tell you every night, I see them, 6 to 7 arrests. Now, of those 6 to 7 arrests, up to 10 arrests, maybe 2 go to jail. The rest are released on some type of rule. That's beyond our control. I do have an opinion on that, on what we could use, and I've talked to numerous of our members of our governing body. I do think that Espanola needs to jail, bottom line. I think you're right, that a lot of these people, these lawbreakers don't fear, because we do make the arrests. We know them all by name. And unfortunately, like the governor has said repeatedly, I wish they would stay in there 10 hours. We're seeing them 3 to 4 hours. We see them go to the hospital and they're not cleared and they don't even go to jail at all. Now the frustration we feel on my side is pretty bad. And my job is to tell the officers, regardless of what happens afterwards, our job is to enforce the law, make the arrest, and whatever happens afterwards, that's not within our purview. So we understand your frustration, sir. We really do. We recently started working with our municipal court judge, working on code enforcement, or enforcement of ordinance within the city of Espanola. One of the biggest things that we have, one of the most calls that I get are jaywalkers. One of my officers actually struck a jaywalker while on duty. And
Because he was looking at his camera. He's looking at his computer, that's why. He's looking at his computer.
We're making every day
He wasn't focusing on the
arrests
road.
for jaywalking and criminal trespass. Now, I'd like to tell you that everybody we arrest goes to jail, spends the night. That's just not the way it is, and I'm not going to tell you that. I do know that anywhere from hopefully 20 to 30% actually make it to jail, but at least we have taken them off the street. And that's what we're supposed to do, protect the public. Because that one time that we don't make that arrest, they're going to commit a more violent felony, and it's going to be due to what we didn't do. So we hear your frustration. I'm going to tell you how a department, how we depend on each other. When we're talking about drugs, I probably had one of the finest members of my department, someone that I worked with at the Albuquerque Police Department, who knew about drugs. We worked undercover together. And he's in the crowd today, Mr. Donald Lopez. While he worked with me, we had the most drug arrests that we've ever had in the city of Espanola. And he followed through. Unfortunately, he had a higher calling, and we all understand that. I know that family comes first. I support him, anything I can do. But replacing someone like that in our department, he had 25 years of experience. We're trying now to replace that. I unfortunately have the background, I just can't be doing that. But we are out there, sir, we hear you. Let me tell you what I wish we all would do. text me or call us, give us those addresses. We track every address. So when we have the opportunities, we just recently dealt with an address.
These people know
in
who the
District
drug dealers
3
are, but they don't
that
do
came up
shit.
during our last town hall meeting.
They don't do
And we were able
nothing.
to make the arrests.
It's all,
So please,
it's all
don't
talk.
stop, don't give up. Please never give up. Give us that information. Feel free to call me, text me. It may take me a couple of days, but sir, we're with you. We're in this fight together. The officers that you have here in Espanola are in the fight with you together. We do not get frustrated, and please reach out to us.
Well, first of all, in my language, we are in the ocean tea. You know how we have to go mine. You know that I'm taking so long to do it. Now when I have one you bear, I mean even on you are you never actually walking we are in we are we on we no we are in the holy talking now when I hit what he mine a khan a kid but on that come you can eat all of me. I am wounded on they are arguing on the move. No, we can tell you can eat arguing more, we eat all of me. That's all we would call it here, Mark. Andam gikeli toa mi ana khawa ana kera mo vista do en bikuyo en te go gike eta kampu mo dikeli am mo het akili mi a bi we pi ki mi a bi we ha ni pi no mi a bi na ko ni hindu again out of respect my Kilo language I understand the critical obstacles and challenges that we're all facing. You can no longer operate in silos. We got to work together. It is very important. I speak better when I stand up, so sorry. But we have to, as local government, the mayors, the Rio Riva County Commission, San Jose County Commission, us as governors, our tribal councils, we have to put all of our differences aside. Yes, we understand the history. But if we don't put that unfortunate history behind us, we're never going to get to what we're talking about tonight. It's very important. And what it comes back down to is respect. Respect is very critical. And I applaud the governor for all the years he's been trying to do this. We have to get our legislative there to state roundhouse so us understand. You know, for me, as you mentioned, sir, that encampment along the river has posed negative impacts to our traditional cultural properties. Our sites of importance. The Rio Grande River plays an important role in the traditional cultural religious aspect. And it is impacting our approved 1995 water quality standards approved by the EPA, which are actual consumption of the water at the point of origin without going through a filtration system. So that's one. Then we have the homeless shelter, right? Right there by our Avanu Travel Plaza. I understand that's in Santa Fe County. It's operated by a non-profit, but that also impacting the wetlands. And so I understand the encampment is on city. The other homeless shelter is on Santa Fe County. But with no oversight, no proper policies or procedures, then I'm dealing with my chief trespass. I'm dealing with defecating in the water, urinating in the water. We find a lot of individuals, and I have maps to show what they call checkerboard. The green is Rio Riva County, the city. The orange is Santa Fe County. Then you go into more detail, then you get a lot of the private claims, right? So part of our history goes back to 1924 with the Public Lands Act. And so all these lands are within the exterior boundaries of Santa Clara Pueblo. Our original grant, granted from the King of Spain in the 1900s. So this is what's very important, because in that area where this homeless shelter is, I have a homeless shelter. I have Mr. Jose Atencio or Joseph Atencio's property, which is private claim, surrounded by Indian land, surrounded by city land, surrounded by county land. This is what makes it a challenge. We post many no trespassing signs, but our chief and our staff or our crew go out every 2 hours. We still find people. You ask them to leave, we escort them, and we issue civil trespass citations, but they don't show up in tribal court. And these individuals are repeat offenders. As these issues are on city and Rio Rico County land, it's impacting federal land, public land. So I've made many visits. I've also addressed this issue since 2015 to the Department of Justice. Recently, I addressed this to the Associate Attorney General, Ben Weiser, because this is an environmental justice impact. So nothing is happening, there's no policing, and of course it impacts our lands. But again, we have to get away from that to really work on this together. Put all of our collective minds together. We all have individual talents, gifts, and skills and knowledge, which is very important to come up with solutions. Come up with an action plan, because these are the lands that are very important to protect. You know, we go out there and clean illegal dump sites. 2 days later, they're back like this again. We find hypodermic needles laying everywhere. Some of them are still fully loaded with, I guess by heroin, I don't know, some kind of drug in there. And we spend time cleaning that up, which now has posed a financial hardship among the public. Also for added security for our travel business. And I got many of you neighbors that come to my office asking for assistance because you said you asked for help from the city or the county and you're not getting heard. So you come to my office asking for help. But again, as a public, as a tribal nation, we have no criminal jurisdiction over these individuals. This is why we got to work with the city, with the Rio Rico County, with the state police department. Because we had a couple of examples where chief and our police department found an individual with outstanding criminal warrants. But because we don't have jurisdiction, and no one wanted to come to deal with that person or those people, we had to let them go. All we did was escort them off our land. And so I understand the challenge. I understand the issues. But this is the time tonight of how we're going to come together to be united. Not work against each other, not fight with each other. We don't do this for ourselves, we do this for the children. But for the Santa Clara Pueblo, we do this to protect our ways of life, our traditions, our cultures, our values, because all that lifestyle is living off that land, utilizing that resource, which is very important. Unfortunately, over the last year, we had 300 crimes at our tribal businesses, which is an average of about 25 per month, which is about 1 a day. This does not include constant trespass or nuisance incidents, which is well over 1,000 over the last year. Again, due to jurisdictional issues, 99% of these criminals are not arrested. Most of these incidents are caused by repeat offenders. And so, back in March, I did address the Senate Committee of Indian Affairs during a listening session of public safety and Native communities. What I had mentioned during that time is, unfortunately, substance and alcohol abuse still plagues us. Incarceration is not the answer. We need secure treatment facilities that provide culturally sensitive and relevant behavioral health, dual diagnosis treatment, and counseling programs. Unfortunately, such facilities are non-existent in our area here in northern New Mexico. So this just creates yet another barrier for people to overcome public safety and for individual health. Yes, law enforcement or enforcement of laws are appropriate for these offenders, which is essential. However, alternative sentencing besides incarceration can be a viable option. The reason why I say this, I had one of my own tribal members come and tell me, Governor, just send me back to jail. I get rid of drugs in jail. I'm housed, I get fed 3 times a day. I said, why are you saying that? He said, because I'd rather go back to jail. I don't want to get any treatment. What's the purpose of treating yourself? And that hurts you, right? Because at times that's your own dad, your own mom, your own understand, unfortunately, that all our law enforcement agencies are understaffed. This includes the state police, Rio County, the city, BIA, FBI, DEA, even our Pueblo. So this is a challenge that, again, as mentioned, no one wants to be employed as a police officer. And the challenge that we face in Santa Clara is we can only offer $25 an hour. They get certified, but where do they go? They go up the hill. But now they're provided $50 an hour. So how do you compete with a $50 an hour salary in the Department of Energy? Well, many of us are still left with no law enforcement. And so as previously mentioned, there are no culturally relevant treatment centers around Santa Clara. It was 2015 and 2016, the Pueblo and many tribes on the federal side used the Turning Point program for substance abuse offenders who required a secure facility while addressing those addictions. However, the Turning Point program, which was in Yuma, Arizona, during the previous administration, the federal level, was changed into a facility to house immigrants. So that type of service was no longer provided to Native American communities, and that was a 1-year process, a 12-step process. And we had a 90% success rate when we sent our individuals there to the Yuma facility. But because now there's no facilities that exist, the only option we have is a 1-year healing place program in Richmond, Virginia for men, and Wake County, North Carolina for women. That's where we stand our men are going to currently. And yes, it's important that we incarcerate, but right now we only have a contract with Los Alamos County, but that individual has to be clean. If he's not clean, he's not accepted, or she's not accepted, and the only one is Taos. We've had in the past, before COVID, contract with Santa Fe and also Sandoval, but they no longer take our people. So that's what makes it a challenge. Also, it's an issue with the juvenile detention or treatment facilities. They're non-existent in our area. And so all these are very critical. So again, how do we put our minds, collective minds together? How do we deal with the situation that we all understand is a challenge, is an obstacle? So this is what's very important, as I mentioned, it comes back down to with respect. So that's what's very important. Is hopefully with support of governor continue to push our legislatures, but also providing additional funding to the city, to Rio County, to Santa Fe County for retention of law enforcement. Hopefully that's a, what do you say, that's what's going to make it work. All we do is continue to believe in the power of prayer. Let's all believe in the power of prayer because it works. Not just one day or 2 days, but every day of our life. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. So give thanks to the Creator as you wake up, as you go to bed. Because we're not going to know we don't wake up tomorrow. So that's what's very important. You know, I unfortunately lost my brother last year to that. We sent him to so many treatment centers. I get mad at him, I give him advice, but he just got mad and rolled out the door. He said, "You don't love me, you're just getting mad at me." I said, "No, it's not, because I love you. I care for you." But unfortunately, we found him in California. And it took me back home and buried him. So as I mentioned, I had that experience, and it hurts. My mom still hurt. Because she always knew that was someday, that was going to be a call to get. This is why I mean it impacts all of us. It makes me cry, it makes me sad, it makes me angry. But as a tribal leader, I got to be strong and find every avenue and solution so that we all deal with this problem. Not just talk the talk, but it's now time that we walk that walk. And we don't do it for ourselves, who else is going to do it for us? No one's going to come and do it for us. We got to do it for ourselves. In order to create a better environment a better life for all of our people, good, bad, doesn't matter. That's the role of myself as governor for our borough. The ones that respect me, the ones that don't respect me, I still look for them as well. So I appreciate the time, the opportunity. I also allow you, because you're also my children, to speak first. But this is very important that I gotta address this. Because it's not my way just to sit here and be quiet. It's always good to engage and have a good partnership and collaborative discussion, which is very critical. So I want to thank all of you again for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here tonight. Okay, so again, you know you have a good rest of my session. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Diana Dominguez. I wanted to get with the program, the ICPC, the Interstate Compact Protecting Children. I've been working with Michelle, ICPC person. But my problem is that the plan is taking too long. I came from Anchorage Law School for my grandson. 6 years ago, I got my nephew, and the state wouldn't help. I think that the state should help with the people or family members that are trying to take guardianship and help support. Again, because I had to pay out of pocket, and at the time that I was asked to do that, I didn't feel like to respect was my first time. But I had to learn hard, and I did it. I'm proud to say I got myself a lawyer in Anchorage, and it is not cheap up there. But I did it, and I adopted my first he was my great nephew, he's my son now. My problem is that the state lied. They told me that they would help me. When I asked for help, they wouldn't do it. I got the Judge Sullivan Lamar to give me permission to go out of state because I live in Alaska. I'm a resident. I was born and raised here. But I came back for LA. My son now. The state lied and said they didn't have funds to help me or to do foster care, so I was forced to sign guardianship without I'm 3 days old. Now I find myself going through the same problems again because there's a lot of procedures. Like I was told this Monday, they had a meeting of the ICPC, Interstate Placement for Children. I live in Anchorage, Alaska, and I need to take my grandson back home with me. I want to do the adoption. My daughter is not going to change. She doesn't. And that man said, we need to get rid of that. My daughter has a home, property, transportation. She's got it all. But she'd rather live there because it's free. She don't pay no utilities. She don't take care of her kids. And there's another thing. All the women that are having children out there, they need to get a hysterectomy. Men need to do that. Vasectomies, whatever, vice versa. Instead of just giving the dogs neutering, take care of those older men that are having children that are addicted to drugs that we're having to take care of. Well, not have to, but I choose to do it. But I find it hard that they're taking care of dogs, neutering them every Tuesday and Thursday. They're not doing anything for the women. And I got a handful of friends and family members that are repeatedly having children out there addicted to opiates, and the state isn't helping. Now I find myself in the position, well, they're helping to the point that I find myself in between a rock and a hard place. I can go home and put my grandson in another foster home. I got licensed, I did all the classes, I did everything they said. Now they told me they could not help me with the ICPC to go back to Alaska because there's a reunification process that has to take place in early in my case. But my daughter has never called, talked to them, got a hold of them. Came to see our son. She hasn't done anything yet. I got to do everything by the book. And she's still got everything. She's got her rights. She's getting everything. It's like I'm the victim and they're punishing me for doing right. I just think a lot of things need to be changed and pushed and helped. As far as kinship guardianship, it's too expensive for us to do it on our own. And I did it for my first adoption. I've got 11, gave birth to 2, and I took in teenagers. Alex was my first adoption at 3 days old, and now I got my grandson at 3 days old. It's 11 kids, and I want to love my grandson. But I think the state should help me and push it faster. I have a job and a home. I'm a 21-year resident of Alaska, but I was born and raised here. I need to go back home. I need help.
If you don't mind, thank you for the courage to tell your personal story. Thank you for taking care of your family and focusing on the children. None of us, including me, can reach into a regulatory department like CYFD and tell them, frankly, to do anything. But I would like them to reach out, and I'll have, if you'll give anyone who's got a microphone your number, because I'll bet there's some navigational, it's gonna sound too administrative and wonky. I mean to be straightforward. I'm sure there is more through a number of departments and agencies that can lift you up while you navigate what's currently the law in New Mexico. We don't want you to give up. We don't want it to be too hard, and we're grateful. On the sheltering side, a lot of laws that would prevent us from doing what you suggest, but it really points to. I'm not trying to minimize what I think your intent is. Of course, I shouldn't be speaking for you. I don't know you, I just met you. But we need public health in a position to do contraceptives and to make sure that we're not having births and any number of risk activities. And back to the gentleman in the back. Encampments are not a productive way to support those people who want help and to hold those accountable who don't want help, who are wreaking havoc on everyone else. It's a dual track. That's what I asked the legislature for. Allow us to commit the folks who meet the standards to get the treatment so that we're working together. Just as you heard from the chief, it's this revolving door of risk, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And women like you, moms and grandmothers, are trying to figure out what you can do in that environment. So if it's all right with you, no penalty, no judgment, because that's how people view CYFD. Me too. Although we're doing better, I heard the mayor take a lot of responsibility. That takes courage. I agree with you. That is about leadership. We should all be doing more of that. CYFD has been a really tough turnaround department for me. And we are finally doing better and working better. We're doing better with kinship guardianship. We're doing better with money and better training and support to foster care. Somehow, we're not doing right by you. So you give us your phone number and let us do everything we can to do right by you in the future. You're welcome.
It's up here. Hello, my name is Camilla, and I have a rhetorical question. All these statements about drug dealers and homeless people, it's kind of contradictory because I'm here actually representing all the drug people and all the homeless people and all the tent people, everyone that's living on the street or living in someone's garage. If everyone in this room, God forbid, lost their home, just imagine whatever you want. You lost your home. You're going to depend on a good neighbor or maybe your sister or maybe your uncle down the street to help you, at least I hope. Now, around here, we're used to spiritual stuff. We got penitentes. Raise your hand if you know what penitentes. Those are what? People that are made to suffer, correct? People that voluntarily suffer. Anyway, that's what a penitente is. And in this culture, we have tribal leaders up there, and we have all these people saying, oh, let's be one, let's be one. But I went to Santa Clara to take my dogs for a walk and to say some prayers at the river. I was given a no trespass sign. I was said, you're not tribal leader in London. So that, I don't understand why my neighbors are doing that. But anyway, as far as the people on the streets, half of them, if you talk to them, they need legal help. They need legal help and they can't get it. And they were forced into being a black sheep. They were forced to that because then their siblings and their other family members are Christian and they're Catholic. Nice and comfy with a pillow and new sheets. I don't get it. I don't get it how we talk a lot of crap, but when it comes down to it, those people that shoot in crowds, oh, they're killed immediately. They're put into jail. And Jesus, our God, and the devil are saying, why do we have to work so hard together? And the devil says, I don't know, but I got your back. Because that same boy that killed 25 people made $7 17,000 come together, and they have a candle, and they pray, and they, oh, we got your back. We got your back. But only if there's only if there's huge tragedy. Tribal people, you're not allowed on their land, but you see drunk Indians, you see drunk Mexicans, you see drunk Hispanics, you see functioning alcoholics all through Los Alamos. I asked your office for help in 2015 because I had some family members that were saying I was a drug dealer. I mean, I was a druggie, and I was this and that. You know what they wanted? They wanted my inheritance. They wanted the trust. And they wanted my parents gone because they had a plan. I'm waving my hand saying, I'm not a drug dealer. I'm not a drug user. I use cannabis. But fentanyl and all the other drugs is Mother Nature's way of saying, how dare you call the stuff that I hold near and dear a drug? Because there's not only cannabis. There's Rashad, there's Navajo tea, there is a million things that God planted in this earth that is used for us. Now you start kids on fentanyl, and they sit there just like this, just looking around at everybody. Look at a kid. That's the first thing they do is put them on medication. But then when they're older, how dare you want to get high? Curanderas, sobadoras, there's all kinds of natural people, natural healing, natural highs. And to be true to 1,000% honest with you, every addict in this world is looking for the feeling that you get after a massage. Your lymphatic system cleans, you can poop properly, you can think properly. If your ditches aren't clean of your body, you get backed up. Now we get that when it comes to our ditches and our gardens and all the things that we know near and dear. But as far as body, spiritual, no. Let's make more jail. Let's kick out the demons. That's all I've heard is, oh, let's be powerful. You know what? Jesus was homeless. I don't know if everybody remembers that. But God forbid if something happened like in Hawaii or somewhere else where it takes out a whole village, oh, then, come on, we take care of you. But as long as I've got my stomach full and my bed is there, I've got 5 restraining orders on me. And I didn't touch not one. I reached out to your office and I said, please, somebody help me. They're trying to say I'm a drug addict and they're trying to force me to be on the street. And God forbid, come up with all kinds of frustrating ways to survive. But everybody in here and everyone that complains about these homeless people, if you sat and talked to all of them, half of them have mental issues, but it is our fault. We start kids on Ritalin and then don't want them to be addicted to anything. Come on, there's got to be some compassion and some love here. And I'm not trying to pick on the Indians, but I have a big problem with them being part of what we do, but we can't be any part of anything they do. I go to San Juan to go to the lake. Meanness, cruelty, power. I went to Santa Clara to go pray and put my feet in the water and enjoy some nature. Trespassing. I have 5 restraining orders on me because those people that I thought were important, I was important in their life, they just wanted the intimidation and the power. And you know what? There's power in numbers. That should be for good, not for bad. Anyway, thank you for everything you guys do, but the spectrum is way bigger than what we're just seeing. It's not jails, it's not drugs.
You make a valid point, which is incarcerating our way out of any risks, not providing housing, not doing behavioral health, not doing services, not having education, is not what we're talking about. And while you and I are likely going to disagree respectfully, and you were very kind about your remarks, thank you for that in this community meeting. But sovereign nations, I have to get a visa to go to a sovereign nation. It is private. I don't get to go on without permission either. And the reality is this, there has to be guardrails and laws, so we don't have chaos, so that when you and I disagree about something, we know that in the middle of that disagreement is the recognition that I'm responsible for something and you're responsible for something. I think this is where, frankly, the whole country has sort of lost its way. If we're violating a law, you should be held accountable or we should change the law. Where we have too many drugs and opportunities for individuals who are impacting people who don't want to do drugs.
Why
And we
can't
have, well, I let you talk. Then that is also illegal. You have an impact on another person. You can't do that freely. It's just the way in which we create equity. Now, to your point, I just wanted to say that, not fair to not see hope in what you say. We need to do more. 200 million is now at the state, making its way for affordable housing and other supports. I do think we have an issue that we're going to have to look at for unfair evictions. But we also have folks who were tenants who have created lighting fires in people's houses, and if you own that house, and to the point of the gentleman who's worried, if that Bosque goes up, if there's a fire in Albuquerque and the Sandias, Albuquerque's gone. All right, we are responding to, related to camping and encampments, thousands, tens of thousands of fires statewide every year. Tens of thousands. Who pays for the firefighters and the police officers? So we have to come together as a community. Intolerance, I think, would be too hard a standard. Not addressing housing, landlord and tenant protections is also too far. But probably we're not going to agree that there shouldn't be boundaries and that I understand that I can't do whatever I want anywhere I want, because that's not how we respect each other. But I appreciate that you're hearing that. Thank you.
I wasn't trying to put anybody down as far as segregation. I'm just saying, if we're going to be neighbors and help each other, let's make it the way Espanola was. I was a police chief. You used to be able to go camp in Santa Clara. That was such a sacred place for me. You used to be able to go fish in San Juan. I mean, this community needs help. Those people need help. Seriously.
Good evening. My name is Steven. It's nice to meet you, Governor Michelle Grisham.
Stephen, it's nice to meet you, sir.
I just can read my shirt. I hold government accountable throughout the United States of America. What John Ramon said this evening, where he takes responsibility for the actions of the academy, I can tell you that's false. A month prior of the town hall meeting back on May 16th, he threw you under the bus, and it was pretty bad. I have video of it, and it's documented at City Council. Not just John didn't throw you under the bus really bad, so did Eric Lujan. Also threw you under the bus pretty bad. There's record of it. I have it. I was at the when this was happening. With me, I protect everyone, and I speak for people that are afraid to speak out because of retaliation, and I'm not. I already swallowed that pill a long time ago, so government comes for me, government comes for me. Well, with that being said, law enforcement, everyone that's in here, you're all probably thought I was going to do something crazy, and I'm not going to do nothing crazy, so you guys can stand down. I have so much respect for this lady right here. I know her since she was young again. I'm not like that. I just hold government accountable. Anyways, I would like to know what is an ordinance? Is an ordinance a rule within the city, or is it law within the city?
I'm going to pass it to the mayor. Ordinances are laws, but you can call it whatever you want, it's enforceable. I think the point to make about statutes and local ordinances is that they're enforceable. Something in statute likely enforceable at a higher level. A lot of ordinances
don't allow you to penalize someone by jail time, but it depends on the ordinance. And I haven't talked to the mayor about this. Well, I did a little in the homeless meeting. There are 50 at least really good local ordinances that this state should adopt. And I can't make local governments adopt it, but I did promise at that meeting that I would cobble that list. I'm a little behind, Mayor, but that list is coming. And I want local governments to adopt the ordinances that improve the quality of life, that are enforceable by sheriffs and by police and by state police. Typically that's done by the local police, but an ordinance has the same full effect.
Okay, hold on, before I'm not done. So, here in the city of Espanola, you get an ordinance regarding panhandling, correct? Panhandling is protected under the Constitution of the United States under the First Amendment, which is freedom of religion and freedom of speech. The Supreme Court has ruled on that, so it's protected. You're talking about an ordinance, you're talking about a median that's not about less than 36 inches. You're talking about somewhere at a traffic light. In the United States Supreme Court, Gonzalez versus Castle Rock, you guys know that our safety is not your guys' concern. You know that, correct? Like law enforcement, they're only here to enforce laws. They're not here for our safety. We protect our own safety. They're here to uphold the laws, not for our safety.
That's not actually true. And Stephen, you are right. There has been, he's exactly right. And I think that's important when we're having a dialogue. To recognize, I know you are, but I want the public to know that you are as well. I want all the Facebook watchers to know that you're right as well. That's valuable, because sometimes people misunderstand, sometimes I make a mistake, and we want the folks to know. But that Supreme Court interpretation, it's not interpretation, it's law, that panhandling is freedom of speech, but here are things that you can do for other people's safety. So if there is too narrow, so I think the Espanola panhandling ordinance is not only, so we might disagree, not only constitutional, I'd like to see it statewide. Because we have the highest pedestrian death safety issues per capita in the country by a lot. And when you've got people who are texting and who are on the phone and who aren't paying attention, and we've got panhandlers, and there are changes, one person leaves, another person comes in. I've seen fights on those medians. I've seen chairs on 32 inches. I've seen a tent on those 32 inches. You can't see. It's untenable. That is allowable under that Supreme Court ruling. Here's what else is allowable under that Supreme Court ruling until it's challenged. I haven't seen it challenged. I don't know what would happen. But I'm interested. Cities could require people, just like they do every other business, panhandlers to seek a license. You'd have to get a license. You could go through a background check. Many cities do this, so that the same standards that are applied to everyone's business are applied to panhandling. The license should be free. The support should be free, different kind of a business. But there are limitations to many people's interpretation of that Supreme Court free speech decision. Now I'm done. Thank you for giving me that time.
And then I just have a real quick thing. So you guys, seems like you guys are trying to figure out how to make less crime against the less fortunate people. Seems like that's what you guys are targeting, the less fortunate people to clean up the community. But what about everybody else that does the exact same thing as the less fortunate people? What about them? What are they gonna get?
They should be accountable too, and you make a very important point for me, which is, I don't do this as well as I intend to. So your t-shirt, hold us all accountable. I don't want, and I think I can speak for the panel and the community, I think. We should not, and we don't want to criminalize hardship or stigmatize and criminalize mental illness. That's wrong. We also are not wanting to criminalize addiction. That's not helpful. And if we tried to criminalize it, if I thought that was the right thing to do. You can build as many jails as you can get billions of dollars for. We can't incarcerate your way out of that. We need to stop poverty. We need to stop childhood trauma. We need to have fair housing. We need better community supports and quality of life. We need meaningful treatment. We need better educational outcomes. That's why we're having free child. We need all that, and we didn't get it for a long time. And we need it. But when you have serious crime and dangerous repeat offenders, whoever you are, whether you're unhoused or living in a mansion because of drug dealing, you should be treated so you can stand trial, or you should go right to jail if convicted or prison because you are a felon. That's what we're talking about. And I'm not really clear about it, and you were helpful. It's not everyone, it's not all of it, it's repeat, dangerous felonies. Rape, attempted murder, drug dealing, human trafficking, serious property damage, carjacking with kidnapping, people who are assaulting you with firearms when you go to the grocery store, the drug store. You can't buy allergy medication in most drugstores in New Mexico. You know why? Because they steal it so often that those pharmacies won't carry it, or they're closing, or they're locking up. So now the impacts to everyday citizens who believe in investing in prevention, dignity, respect, treatment, and anti-poverty pro-education programs are held hostage by dangerous folks. So you gave me an opportunity to clarify, because I'm struggling with that. I don't want people to believe, and thank you, Stephen, that we're trying to incarcerate people who have risk issues, or poor, or minorities. I would never stand for that, and I don't believe that's anyone's position. I hope it's not anyone's position in the room, because then we really disappointed you, but the leaders in the state aren't interested in doing that, and frankly, I think it would be unconstitutional, to your point.
Is there funding to get rehab centers and local cities? Is there a way that the local government can get money some way, somehow to build rehab centers within the city? Because like that's what it is placed everywhere throughout the nation, is that's what's lacking.
Agreed.
That's what's lacking.
And there is money.
I was at the encampment a couple of days ago, and I interviewed 45 people in Oklahoma. I walked through it. I have a huge platform. I have a huge social platform. I do YouTube, Facebook, and I do everything. I have a big following. So I did a walkthrough at the encampment here, spoke with everybody here. They're just nervous of where they're going because nobody has talked to them. Everybody's just like, they're afraid to speak with these people. Like, they don't know how to interact. If they can have a normal conversation, I spoke with everyone. And they just need help. They need guidance as to what they're looking for. If this city of Espanola had a facility or some way to help have these people get counsel or help these people get, I would guarantee this city would be back to how I was 60 years ago. You know, or 30 years ago since I left. I no longer live here. I was a resident, but I moved away about 2 years ago. But I just wanted to know if there's funding for
There is, and more needs to come, and there aren't enough easy access points. So I don't want anyone, no one's hearing me say that it's all fixed, right? But there's a lot of money available, and we're actually gonna make Espanola a center for every service, every part of government. And actually, Mr. Mayor, I agree with Stephen that we heard from the experts, you have to go into the encampments and say, we're closing. And at the same time, there's a leader in that encampment, or two. You have to commit that you will navigate people into services. Say what? And the people who are willing and follow those rules, and they can't be too narrow, they can't be too broad, you should support those folks. And the people who don't want that, who want to repeat these criminal behaviors, they get held accountable. That's the system that's working in Chicago, New York, Washington, D.C., Denver, Dallas, Houston.
They're doing it now in LA. I'm sure people saw the governor of California without I'm exaggerating what the order says, but to generalize, sort of, we're not gonna have any encampments in California anymore and directing cities and counties to deal with it. So it's coming in America, because it can't be all of one and none of the other. And we want to make Espanola a model place for its citizens. That's what we want. Next question, sir.
Yeah, my name is Ronald Gallegos. I'm one person who was alumni from here. I've been part of this college for 30 years, more or less, and I'm a retired educator, military. Well, there's a problem I see, and it's been worse in other places. There's a debt court in Bernalillo Court, Bernalillo County. And is there any type of funding that you can have a debt court in every municipality, every district, every magistrate court? Because you mentioned mental health and everything else like that. There's nobody mentally worse off than a combat veteran. I've been to 5 combat tours, and I came back alive. And I've carried more people coming back alive than I have seen in combat. Because they were sent to jail, they were incarcerated, just because who they were. They went to the VA, they went through the process, they did everything, they took 30 medications. There was one person with 30 medications. And the previous sheriff used to call me at times, "Hey Ron, we got this veteran over here, he's drunk off his ass, we want to take him in, can you come and talk to him?" And sure enough, I go over there and talk to him, shut down the situation and stuff like that also. The previous chief of police, Richard Bag, same thing. "Ron, can you come and talk to this guy? I know he doesn't mean any harm or anything, but he's off his rocker." He's talking about the war, he's talking about combat, and everything else like that too. Is there any program where you can set up, volunteer veterans who can go and talk to people and stuff like that? You've got a task force that's on right now, I don't know what you call it. But there's a young man in West, Jason Gonzalez, but he's only one person in one community. Is there any way that you can actually contact volunteers? When I first came back from my first tour, I set up the Veterans Resource Office here at college. You help veterans with their benefits to go back to school and stuff like that too, whether it's trades or anything else like that too. I did 6 months volunteer service for that one office. Provided that they get some time and stuff like that.
Why you touch my camera? You touching my property, bro? There's Miss Piggy right there. Miss Piggy Sue. Piggy Sue right there. All right, guys. We're out. We're out this bitch. It was pretty interesting. Thank you guys for your time. Later.